Okay, so here is your sine function. Okay, your parent sine function, which means with no transformations, right? All the way to pi over 2. So that's what it looks like. Remember, it starts at 0, okay? And there's no asymptotes, right? There's no loss. It just goes on. So the question would be, what's the domain to this function? Okay, so notice if I zoom out, it goes on forever on the right side, forever on the left side, right? So if I keep zooming out, it still goes this way, still goes that way. So what would the domain be for that? Infinity, all real numbers. Okay, same thing for cosine. That's the cosine one. They both go out for forever. Okay, they both go from -1 to 1 on the range. Okay, but notice the difference between sine and cosine. And when we did it the other day, I really tried to emphasize that for you. Sine starts at 0, cosine starts at 1. Okay, but they both go on forever. So now tangent. Okay, tangent looks like this, right? It has all the asymptotes. So the domain would still be all real numbers because either way you go, it just repeats, except for those asymptotes, right? And we just talked about where are those asymptotes happening? At pi over 2. What would be the next one? What's the next odd number after 1? 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, right? Okay, so it's all real numbers except for those asymptotes. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Let's talk about range. Okay, so this is, again, the parent functions, okay, without doing any modification. What's the range for sine? What's the lowest part of it? -1. What's the highest part of it? 1. Right, everybody agree? Okay. Now cosine, what's the range? -1 to 1, right? It goes down to -1, up to 1. Everybody see that? I'm just moving around so make sure, but I'm not in nobody's way. -1 to 1. Yeah, is that okay? Okay. What would be the range for tangent? All real numbers, right? It goes down forever, up forever. Is that okay? Okay, now look, here's a sine function, okay? It has the A, the B, the H, and the K. Which of these letters or transformations will affect the range? Okay, so for example, if I do the H value and move it this way, is that going to change my range? No. Okay, let me show you a visual of that. It doesn't. It's still the same height. You guys okay with that? Okay. If I change my K value, my vertical shift, is that going to affect? Yes, right? So notice, I mean, it's still the same like tallness, amplitude, but now it starts here, it goes up to here, right? Depending on the K. Is that all right? Good. Now, let me put it back to regular. Now the B, okay, so if you remember, the B is the horizontal stretch and compress. I'm trying to get this to 0, right? So it's like an accordion when you're doing this to it, okay? So if I do this to it, it does not affect my range because you're only squishing it and stretching it. Check this visual out. See, but it's still the same range. You guys see that? Like, it squishes it and it stretches it, but it doesn't change. Okay, so the B doesn't change the range. Now the A, on the other hand, let me get the B back to 1. 1 is the standard one. Okay, the A is when you stretch it, the amplitude, right? You stretch it up and down. So that most definitely does have an impact on the range. But now notice the actual number though. Look, I made it a 2 amplitude, so you stretched it by 2. So notice it's not going from 1 to 1, it's going from, you see the numbers there? -2 to 2. So if I did a 3 on the A, what number is it going to go to? 3 to 3. Watch, let me show you. Let's put a 3 on the A. See, 3 to 3. Okay? And it follows that pattern. If you do a 4 for the a, it'll go from -4 to 4, from -5 to 5. Does that make sense, guys? Yes, okay. That's it. Okay, that's the domain and range.